Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to round 11 of season 7 of our F124 HAAS driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend ready for the Austrian Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the last video that went live from Barcelona, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. It's safe to say, as we near in on the halfway stage of the season, it has been a very up and down campaign so far for plenty of our drivers. 8 points in it between myself and Oscar Piastri at the top of the table. The Australian making one of his first kind of high profile errors of the year last weekend in Barcelona, after we've made it back-to-back victories in the last couple of GPs as well. So finally feels like this HAAS car is starting to build a little bit of momentum. HAAS as a team, we've won the last 4 GPs in a row now, and it's safe to say we've definitely got a little bit over everybody else in terms of car performance. I have to give him the credit. That has pretty much been all Pierre Gasly's work this season so far. He's been bringing a lot of upgrades to the team as well. But of course, yeah, a sprint weekend though this time out gives us twice the opportunities for scoring points as well. Hopefully we can keep it clean and tidy. Of course, if you're new around here, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We're trying to hit 140,000 subs on the channel as well. And also, of course, if you want to help support us out just a little bit more, consider clicking that join button. It costs just £1 a month. You get early access to all the videos and a few other perks as well. But yeah, without further ado then, let's head out into sprint qualifying.
Hello everyone, welcome to Austria. It is a short track, it is high speed, it is exactly what we enjoy for qualifying.
Well, here we are then, ready for qualifying back in the Styrian Mountains. This has always been a good circuit for HAAS, so maybe, just maybe, as a team, we can make it 5 wins in a row this weekend as well then. Pierre Gasly, he looked very, very confident in free practice pace, of course. Haven't really seen him rebound since that victory out in Monte Carlo, so maybe this weekend can be the weekend there. But I'm sure, you know, the likes of Oscar Piastri, McLaren as well, they are going to be very, very strong, especially over 1 lap pace. This is definitely one of the AI's best circuits inside the game for 1 lap runs. It's just generally in race pace they struggle a bit more. They find that they kind of trip over each other quite a lot as you go through a Grand Prix there, but making our way down through Sector 2, trying not to nick that inside curb as we make our way in towards those final couple of corners. Oscar Piastri looking very, very confident on this 1 lap run at the moment there. I mean, look at that, way away from the apex, but still finding the grip through that penultimate corner. Russell, though, a really good line out the final turn. He will snatch it away from the Ferrari. And there we go then, George Russell will line up on pole position there by just 19 thousandths of a second. Gasly outqualifies myself to line up in P3 there, but HAAS will lock out the second row. Teo Porcher, Renzo Fittipaldi, both with a very good effort just ahead of Alonso and Lando Norris there, with Leclerc and Perez rounding out our top 10. Hamilton, I'm sure he'll be disappointed to be lining up down in P13 here, only 6 tenths away from pole, but it's a short track, there's a lot of DRS zones, moves can be made. Well, here we are then, ready down on the grid. Like I said, it's nice to always have Pierre Gasly with us in these races, and hopefully, if he can start getting some stronger results as well, we can try and fight for the Constructors' Championship. I believe we've only won 2 Constructors, and both of those obviously came back at Ferrari a couple of seasons ago. Medium tyres look to be the way to go. It is meant to be sunny skies all weekend here from the Styrian Mountains. But ready on the grid then, Russell, he needs a good result today as well. It is 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for the Austrian Grand Prix sprint race there. Oscar Piastri trying immediately to get past George Russell in towards turn 1. Oh, there's a little bit of contact between the McLaren and the Ferrari there as Teo Porcher tries to get between myself and our teammates who make our way up the hill in towards turn 2 and turn 3 there. And Porcher there really has got the straight line speed. We'll move up then into P4, but not for long, as we will try and go around the outside of him up at the top of the hill. Yellow flags coming out further behind for some Constantine running up there as Russell gets back around the outside of Oscar Piastri as well then. Teo Porcher clearly has not given up on this one, as he again try and fling one to the inside there. And well, Teo started the year really, really strong over an Aston Martin and then kind of fell away for quite a few races. So maybe now we're going to start seeing a bit of a resurgence from the young Frenchman this season. You know, it would be quite nice. I've always rated Théo Pourchaire. I think he probably did deserve an F1 seat, if I'm being completely honest, as well. But of course, the big thing here around this circuit is you just cannot get detached from the rest of the field there. Russell just still ahead of Oscar Piastri, but immediately that DRS is going to be opened up. So we make our way out of turn 1. Are we going to see Oscar and Pierre Gasly immediately try and line up a run? There goes the Australian to the outside of George Russell up the top of the hill. Russell made that line work last lap. Oscar Piastri might not be so lucky this time round as, well, there we go. Oscar will make it through there. I believe Russell, though, has the DRS. As, oh, they are really going at it. There goes Pierre Gasly trying to have a look around the outside of George Russell. And, well, it's only the sprint race, lads. There's not even that many points available. Gasly will swoop through, though, and up into P2 as we just watch on. Here we go, then Pierre Gasly this time, I'm sure, is going to try and get a run on Leclerc out of turn 1. We are going to do the same for George Russell then as we make our way up the hill. Gasly will go to the inside. We are having a look to the outside of our rival in this battle there, as Oscar Piastri again will just about get the power down, and he'll get the DRS that time. So Pierre will just have to hang on in second. We are now up to third. I mean, especially in a sprint race here, just nobody can really get away from each other unless you get a bit lucky with AI battling behind. This time around, Pierre to the outside of Oscar Piastri. I don't even know. I think it was Oscar again that will get the DRS off the top of the hill there. But Gasly that time round should be able to get the power down. It looks like they were identical through the DRS zone there. So we are going to be the only ones inside the range. We will send one to the inside of Oscar there. Try and give our teammate just a little bit of breathing room. And this is exactly what I mean about cars fighting. Your top two in the World Championship side by side in through the S's there as well. We dip a wheel on the gravel. So Oscar Piastri will hang on to the spot that time round. But that might immediately have given Pierre Gasly just a little bit of breathing room at the front of the order. I think the gap is exactly 1 second as we get in towards the detection point here. So are we going to see Oscar? Yes, he does. He still claims that DRS. So I think now it's probably in our best interest just to sit behind him. No, we've got to go for it, haven't we, surely? We've got to try and give Oscar Piastri... we've got to try and give Pierre Gasly some breathing room from Oscar Piastri in this GP, as I think that's a Sauber breaking down at the rear of the field. Oh, big wobble up at the top of the hill. Fred Vesti going to be our first retirement of the afternoon, but we will cut in front of the Australian there, move ourselves up into P2 yet again. George Russell, though, not out of this fight just yet there, as we are still side by side with Oscar Piastri. Should be able to get the drive down off of turn 4. Again, he's going to try and have a look around the outside of us. Surely not through there. Oscar Piastri, we have to give him room. This is fantastic racing. Again, still only in the sprint here, and Oscar Piastri hangs firm. That was incredible defensive driving and kind of able just to hook it up around our outside. Happy that obviously we were able to give him the room as well. Didn't make any kind of mistake in that situation, but again, are we going to try and apply pressure there? We'll keep it right defensive in towards turn 1 and then try, do the old up and under there on the exit. Not quite able to get the power down that time round, but again, we'll have the slipstream, we'll have the DRS, so we should be able to power our way through up into P2 at last. But yeah, Pierre now already a 2.5 second lead at the front. Well, on to the last lap then of the Austrian GP sprint race here. Pierre Gasly still with about a 2.5 second lead at the front of the order there. Théo Pourchaire, though, now has moved up into P2. Into P3 even late on in this one. So is he potentially going to challenge us for second place on this final lap here and potentially spoil HAAS's party? Don't believe he's at a podium yet, sprint race or not. So Théo might just look to try and hang on to that spot. But yeah, Aston Martin and Ferrari here have looked pretty good over the course of this sprint. Of course, it does give you a rough idea as to what to expect as you move into the Grand Prix proper as well there. But making our way then down in towards this final sector, Pierre Gasly, things just really falling into place for him in this one. And hopefully that'll give him the confidence as we head into Sunday's Grand Prix as well there. Through the final few corners here in the Styrian Mountains, Pierre Gasly has looked comfortable and with good pace around this venue today. Through the final couple of corners, make sure I don't get done for track limits there. We absolutely will. Pierre Gasly will win the sprint. HAAS bag a 1-2. Well, there we go. 15 points there backed for HAAS to kickstart the weekend. That'll do us wonders in the World Championship. Their gap to Oscar Piastri down to just 6. So if either of us win the race tomorrow, we will guarantee to be leading in the World Championship as well there. Constructors-wise, though, with that result, we do jump Ferrari as well. Just 17 points now back behind McLaren, ready for Sunday's race there. Fingers crossed again we can have good pace. Pierre Gasly managed to complete that sprint in under 13 minutes, which is rather impressive as well there when all is said and done. But anyway, let's head then into real qualifying. Hopefully we can put this car on the front row. Well, ready for real qualifying then. We used that sprint to learn quite a lot about the car and the setup we need for the rest of the weekend. I've just opted to take a little bit of wing at both the front and the rear end, and hopefully we're going to be able to try and just have a little bit more straight line speed, be even more competitive as we head into race trim here. But yeah, obviously I started the weekend by talking about, you know, HAAS' circuit's always gone well for them, and hopefully, you know, with a 1-2 in the sprint race, we can try and carry that momentum into the main event. Obviously this video won't be going live until probably late next week, but I'm actually recording this after Lewis Hamilton has taken pole ready for the Shanghai sprint, so you guys again will have to let me know as to how he got on in the sprint race as well. I'm hoping we see Hamilton you know, get a couple of victories this year for Ferrari nice and early on in the campaign, but only time will tell then, as so far this lap, again, you know, we're not a million miles away from Lando Norris, but the margins are so tight here as we make our way through that final corner. Really was able to carry a lot of speed on the exit, and again we end up P4. I don't know who pipped us to the line, but there must be thousands in it. Well, there we go then. Lando Norris will claim P1 then after a bit of a quiet sprint race for our fellow Brits. George Russell in P2 there, and again Pierre Gasly and I locking out the second row, so it's going to be both McLarens followed up by both HAAS cars there. 5 thousandths of a second in it between ourselves and Pierre, but most importantly, we are ahead of our main championship rival in Oscar Piastri there. I mean, look at that. 11 cars covered by 0.5 tenth of a second. Again, the entire field, apart from one, covered by less than a second as well. That Stroll, rather unsurprisingly, ruins that. But let's get into the race.
It's race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. We are just a few moments away from lights out, and our drivers thinking about navigating the Niki Lauda curve, as it was renamed in 2019, in memory of one of Formula One's most beloved figures. 700 metres above sea level, 10 corners, and one of the shortest laps of the season. 2.6 miles, with some good overtaking opportunities, but you've got to get the braking right into turn 1 and turn 3. The race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Gasly, Firestarter, Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Sargent, Hamilton, Perez, Teo Porcher, Fittipaldi, Ricciardo, Behrman, Tsunoda, Ocon, Joe, Stroll, Iwasa, and Frederick Vesti. That's it then. It's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
Well, again then, familiar territory as we line up on the grid, but instead of a Ferrari and a McLaren in front, we've now got 2 McLarens there, so clearly, obviously they've still got the Constructors' Championship lead at the moment. They want to try and hang on to that as best as they can. The medium tyre worked really, really nicely in the sprint, so I think we're going to stick with that for the start of the race, see how far we can take it, and then we'll see how we get on, whether we'll move to softs or hards for the second half of the afternoon. But for the second time this weekend then, the 5 red lights are on. And it's going to be lights out and away we go for the Austrian GP there as well. Pierre Gasly not getting off to a good start. Someone that has, though, Oscar Piastri. And after a back qualifying last weekend, oh, we have a bit of contact with someone there down at turn 1. How on earth has Oscar done that? 5th to 1st of the start of the Grand Prix there. That has got to be one of the best starts I've ever seen for an AI inside this game. And I tell you what, Oscar Piastri, his ability to bounce back after rough sessions on this game never failed to blow my mind. It looks like already he's trying to pull out the 1 second margin over everybody else. So no idea what he's put on his cornflakes. But yeah, I want some of that then off the start of this one. Pierre Gasly trying to find a way around Lando Norris there. And McLaren, their dream qualifying sessions ended up being a bit of a disaster early on lap 1 there as well. A little bit of a wobble from ourselves again, just taking a wheel through the gravel. Lando, though, will sneak around the outside of Pierre Gasly down in towards the final couple of corners, but Pierre again comes back at him. Brilliant racing at the start of this one as Gasly will just back out of it. Not sure why he's backed out there, but Oscar Piastri then already is going to have about a 2 second lead by the end of lap 1. So this is really not playing into our hand right now. We need to try and get around these two and try and go in pursuit of the Ferrari man there. Immediately we'll put alongside our teammate Pierre then. Can we try and have a look to the inside of Lando Norris? 3 wide up the hill. We will go. We'll have to try and hug the apex on the inside. Oh, there's plenty of contact again up the top of the hill. But we should be able to get the power down. We're still 3 wide on the exit of the corner there. Lando Norris in a HAAS sandwich. Can we keep the nose, though? Oh, on the inside again. We'll lock the rear slightly. Try and gather it up. We'll lose another place to Russell. And maybe another one to one of our old nemesis in Charles Leclerc there. I think, yeah, it's already got front wing damage as well. So no idea what's happened to that Mercedes. But just like we saw in the in the sprint race yesterday, chaos at the start of the Austrian GP then, as we need to try and find a way around Charles Leclerc nice and quickly. Luckily, yeah, get down the inside through those final couple of corners. We've got yellow flags out already as that's another Sauber breaking down. Is that Fred Vesti? Is it going to be Zhou Guanyu? It is Zhou Guanyu this time round.
Okay, it looks like the problem's terminal. They're retiring the car.
So clearly Sauber, whatever they've done with their aero package this weekend, they have not got enough cooling on either of those cars. We've got yellows. Oh, that's a car behind. No idea who it is. I think it might be a V car again. Oh no, it's Logan Sargent in the Red Bull. So home Grand Prix for that Red Bull team, and one of their drivers, unfortunately, is going to be out of it. Logan, to be fair to him, I don't know how he managed to climb up the order as quickly as he had, but he did look fairly confident around this venue, but that's going to count for naught, as Lando just struggling a little bit to stay in the range of George Russell. But as long as he keeps that DRS, it doesn't really matter. Russell now having a look for a move on Pierre Gasly in towards turn 1. Again, a HAAS and a McLaren going wheel to wheel through that first corner. Might sound slightly unrealistic in 2025, as there we go, Norris now. Oh, they're going to try and make it 3 wide there. Russell almost gets squeezed out in the middle there. Pierre Gasly again trying to hang on, as Russell will park it up the top of the hill. Can we try and just get alongside the McLaren? No, we can't. We'll have to swoop. No! Oh, I tried to cut back again underneath him. We picked up a tiny bit of damage. That hopefully shouldn't cost us too much, but is not ideal. But yeah, that front wing damage, I think we'll definitely get it changed when we do pit, but it's not costing us too much time at the moment, as Norris again will have a look to the inside of Pierre Gasly. We're going to send one. That damage will do enough to need to change the wing.
There's a long way to go in this race, so let's keep it clean.
Not sure you could ever classify that as being ahead of George Russell there, but just came in a little bit hot against the McLaren man and had to try and commit to the inside line. George, you know, was well within his right to try and turn in there, but I think we're going to have to try and dive in for an early pit stop and try and make an undercut work then in this race. I've said it so many times before, I get no luck here at Austria inside this game. Just something goes wrong every single season. We come back to this venue. As now Russell, I mean, I want to try and pit, buddy. So he's going to have to try and get... What's he doing? Russell, I'm trying to pit there. As, I mean, he's going to knock us out of the way through those final couple of corners. Into the lane we will come, though. And finally, getting the car slowed down into the box. I think we're going to re-emerge at the rear of the field, but hopefully not too far behind the rest of the pack. But again, when we've kind of been in clear air, we have been able to, you know, we have had some decent pace in the car. We have been fairly competitive as a fairly slow pit stop. This is looking like a very slow pit stop, actually.
Okay, go, go, go. Perfect job on the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
Well, the game reckoned that was a 7.7 second stop, but they must have spent about another 2 seconds still trying to put the wing on and get the car off the jacks. 8 seconds the gap to Alonso. I know he's got mechanical issues, but 25 laps on hard shouldn't be impossible. Oh, someone's locked up. Lance Stroll there. Whoa, that was out of nowhere. Lance Stroll having a big lock up at turn 1 and almost took out his former teammate in Fernando Alonso, despite his potential mechanical issues. And that Aston Martin seems to be trying to get into the swing of things once again. They're really trying to attack and then subsequently defend from us, but we will get around him and up into P16. Just hoping we can navigate our way around some of these cars. Obviously use that DRS to our advantage, but try and lose as little time as we can. Oh, Fred Vesti, that car is just not fast inside this series. Obviously having a lot of fun with the salvaging Sauber career mode we're doing over on map 2 and 2 gameplay at the moment. But there we go, up past another one, back into P15 here as we'll try and get a run on Awasa back into turn 1. I never think it's actually worth going for the overtake in towards that first corner. I always think you're better off saving and then having the DRS on the exit to carry yourself all the way up the hill. Yeah, the V-carb after a mechanical failure yesterday. He's looking a little bit stronger this afternoon. But again, another improvement through Sector 1. Oh, there we go. We've got cars into the pit lane then. This is a big gaggle of cars fighting just in front of me, but there is George Russell. We have made the undercut work. As recoveries go, that has worked out fantastically for us, as we'll get back around the outside of the McLaren car, and if we can keep pulling away, they're 3 wide up in front. What on earth is going on up the top of the hill? This is going to allow us to close in. Plenty of carbon fibre being left all over the circuit, and that's Leclerc again, I think, getting involved. I mean, Charles Leclerc, whoa, so slow making his way through these final few corners there. Ollie Behrman, no choice but just to sit in behind him there, and we will try and get around the outside of the Williams. I'm hoping Leclerc's going to dive into the pit lane. Yes, he will. So can we just get around him there? And I got no idea why he's tried to extend that stint as far as he has. So where is Oscar Piastri then? He's way up the road still at this stage of the afternoon. We will get ahead of Lando Norris though, and I think we'll have a bit of a gap ahead of the McLaren man. Looks like Gasly actually got held up through the pit cycle as well. Fred Vesti is up to P5 in that Sauber car, so that's fantastic for him. But on all the tyres, can we try and make an 8-second deficit up to Oscar Piastri? This is going to require a Herculean effort. Well, I think if we're going to be able to close in on Oscar Piastri in the second half of this GP, we're going to have to try and use George Russell to our advantage here. The McLaren man thinks about having a look. He's going to have a look for a move up the top of the hill, and we really just cannot afford to fight him too much on this. I also don't really want to bring Lando Norris into the fight if I can avoid it there. Russell will make it through and up into P2 then, but is he going to have the pace over the Ferrari to potentially reel this gap in? Well, third time's the charm then. Maybe George Russell will finally work out what we're meant to be doing at this stage of the Grand Prix, as again we will power around his outside, bring a good half a second out of Oscar, as again we are setting fast this first sectors over and over, helped of course by that DRS as well there. But as we try and get the power down up over the top of the hill, Russell, will he get back to us? He's again going to try and have a look for it. Whoa, a little bit of contact there as he just was not far enough alongside to commit. I think, yeah, we've just got to accept, unless we get a safety car or a red flag, Oscar Piastri is gone this afternoon. Where on earth did he keep that pace hidden? Oh, Lando Norris, here we go. Having a look down the inside of turn 1. That's a bit of a brave opportunity. Make sure we're giving the room, though, and surely now, with that horrible line out of turn 2, he's going to get the run on us. Pierre Gasly has moved past the other McLaren, though, so really, we haven't really... Well, we've actually lost a point out to them in the Constructors' Championship with all that happening. Oscar Piastri, 15 seconds now up the road. He's just loving life. As Hamilton trying to get himself up into that P4. No idea what's going on behind us. But yeah, looks like Russell has lost another 2 spots. But Gasly hasn't gained one either as Hamilton. I tell you what, Season 7, it is great to see him fighting again. I tell you what, Oscar Piastri has dominated this race, and there's only one other driver I can think of inside this game that has ever been able to control races like this and build up such a ridiculous lead, and that's Max Verstappen, of course, no longer in the sport in this series, but yeah, Verstappen He's dominated his fair share of Grand Prix on this game. And yeah, very, very rarely do we see, you know, more than kind of even a 5-second lead being built up by the end of an afternoon. But 17 seconds clear now for Oscar Piastri with just over 1 lap to go. We have gone around the outside of Lando Norris, hopefully for good at this late stage of the afternoon. There's still plenty of battling going on behind, though, between our teammate and 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. But yeah, George Russell, again, mechanical issues plaguing McLaren even. Not as bad as they have often done this season, but definitely still not ideal. But 1 lap to go then, here in the Austrian Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri, he's lost plenty of points to us in recent races, but he has come back and he has absolutely dominated this one in style this afternoon here in the Styrian Mountains. 5th to 1st by turn 2. How does anybody manage that inside this game there? But one final time then, we've got to try and defend from Lando Norris up the hill in towards turn 2. Will he be able to get to us by the apex? Well, turn 3 there, a little bit of a wobble up the top of the hill. That might compromise us on the exit here. And is that going to allow Lando Norris an opportunity to make our way in towards turn 4? We've got to try and defend the inside line from the McLaren man there, who will go late on the brakes. Again, we will just try and squeeze him out, though, on the exit of the corner. And hopefully now, that will be for good. 18 seconds up the road, though. Oscar Piastri out of the final corner. He will win again for Ferrari here and extend his World Championship lead at the top of the table. Charles Leclerc ended up 1 lap down in this afternoon's running. Through the final couple of corners, though, for us, it is going to be P2 in the end. Honestly, based on a lot of Austrian Grand Prix, I'll take it.
He'd won a sprint before, but now it's time for Grand Prix success. Oscar Piastri takes the win.
You always look back at a race like this and think, if I'd just made that mistake there or locked up here, there would have been contact. And every one of those overtakes is a moment where you have to absolutely nail it, perfect it, and that's exactly what they're able to do today. Great stuff indeed.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
Well, there we are then, Oscar Piastri, 30 points on the board from the weekend. And yeah, like I said, that's got to be one of the biggest winning margins we've had inside this series there. We come through for P2, though, ahead of Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly, so we take a few more points out of McLaren as well in the Constructors' Championship. Hamilton there in P5, a very good race for him, being the only Mercedes driver to score. Daniel Ricciardo, bearing in mind, he qualified last for the sprint, to recover to 7th place there ahead of Perez, and comfortably ahead of Perez by the end of the afternoon, is a very good job by him. Ocon in 9th, Teo Pourchaire in 10th there, just ahead of Ollie Behrman in his Williams car. I mean, Fernando Alonso, he had mechanical issues. Enzo Fittipaldi clearly struggled. Charles Leclerc as well, 1 lap down in the end, but he did get fastest lap as a bit of a consolation prize there. And Logan Sargent and Zhou Guanyu both failing to see the checkered flag. That means Oscar now has a 13-point buffer again at the top of the table. Russell and Norris just 1 point between them two, as Leclerc now only 2 points ahead of Pierre Gasly, who is up into 6th. Fernando Alonso, Fittipaldi, Hamilton and Perez still just inside your top 10 there. And yeah, Ricciardo gets a decent haul of points on the board just to bring him a bit closer to Logan Sargent. Still just strolling those Saubers, yet to score a point. 10 points now in it between McLaren and HAAS at the top of the Constructors. Ferrari, though, only a further 9 behind, so that could all change very quickly. Still ahead of Mercedes and Aston Martin there. Red Bull still with a healthy buffer ahead of VCARB, Alpine and Williams there. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the British Grand Prix.